This thing's another problem child. I got a recording thing now on the phone. That, last night I was reading. I heard it a couple times. It said that if you have the faith to move mountains, to tell a mountain to get up and jump in the sea, and you have not love, you have nothing. That's the truth. I got mad at the people on Kent Hovind's website because they're picking on him. Okay, he believes once you're saved by Jesus Christ, you're saved forever. And that just every day, whatever you do, whether it's right or wrong, is just, whether the father is mad at you one day or not. Like he likens it to a relationship with his father. When his father, he's not out of the family because he misbehaves. He's still in the family. He just gets punished, whatever. I don't know how the punishment part works with him, but that's what he says is pretty simple. Now, if you're saved, you're not going to want to sin. Or even I heard Peter saying things, or Paul saying things to the effect of, which the way I interpret it was that he's saved and whatever he does doesn't matter because he's already saved, and that's the way it is. But if you're already saved, you're not going to want to misbehave. But it also, you can look at it as though it encourages sin. Because if you tell somebody that, you're already saved, so you don't have to worry so much about misbehaving or stepping out of line. But then also Jesus says, if you say raka to somebody, you're opening yourself up for judgment. Now, raka means like you jerk. And that Nathan kid, the Jewish kid that went to, he had a near-death experience. He's a Jewish kid and doesn't speak any English. He speaks only Hebrew. And he was explaining everything he saw in his death to the rabbi. And what he explained was that Israel it's surrounded right now by every nation out there. But he said Israel is going to be attacked. He said Obama is the Antichrist, because the rabbi was asking these specific questions. The kid said that the Israeli Defense Force is going to last 2 days. Now that's understandable because of the pride situation. They got a lot of pride. The Old Testament, it states specifically that a country is born in a day, a nation is made in 24 hours. Well, of course, that's what happened to Israel. Whatever, it's exactly what's going on. But anyway, the rabbi Kadori thing is what got me started on this. There's a rabbi with hundreds of millions of followers. He's a Kabbalistic priest, which they run Israel. And apparently the rabbis don't preach in synagogue. They don't preach at all. They just read the scrolls or the book or whatever, and they do their little special things, and they don't encourage the parishioners, whatever they call them, to study the Bible. They say, we'll interpret for you, don't you worry about that. Because apparently all the Jewish people are waiting for two messiahs. One of them is going to be born the son of Joseph. I'm sorry, I laugh every time I hear it. But one of them is going to be born the son of Joseph. He's going to be a regular man. He's going to die and be brought back from the dead. The other Messiah is going to be coming with the clouds of heaven real soon, according to Kaduri. Kaduri was told when he was a little child that you're going to have an unnaturally long life and you're going to meet the Messiah. This is what he was told by like a Rabbi Singer type of guy. With millions of followers these guys have. You can check the website if you want. Anyway, this guy Kaduri, before he dies at 108 years old, so that part of the prophecy came true. So he dies at 108 years old, and he hands his son a note before he dies, of course, and says, put this up on the internet a year after I'm dead. So the note goes up on the internet a year after he's dead. It's in code, so they decipher it about 3 weeks later. And it says that Yeshua is the Messiah, the Ruach Messiah, whatever they call him. Anyway, he's the Messiah. Christ is the Messiah. Anyway, the Jews started to say it began first place. You don't understand. Jews really don't like us at all because it was very dismissive of Christians altogether. I mean, he waved us off with we're idiots, we're morons, and this is the type of thing that we suck up or invent. He accuses Christians of inventing these things to God invented these things. They're just so see that he stopped up their ears and their eyes for 2,500 years. Well, I'm going to get into the other part. But anyway, Rabbi Kaduri, millions of followers, he says, puts a note up on, they translated, it says, deciphered, it says, Yeshua is the Christ. So now, first they started saying that denial that way. And they started denying, saying that Yeshua doesn't mean Christ. Of course, they proved that that's true. Then they tried to say that he was crazy. They proved that that wasn't true. He wasn't crazy. He started preaching it at the end. That's a little crazy for a rabbi to do. But he was telling people to look for their personal saviors. But he had 13 disciples who were going around changing people in Jerusalem, I assume. It's not going to be. I talked to a gentleman. I was telling all these things, especially about Israel's birthdays coming up. I was going through all this stuff, and the guy overheard me, especially about Kaduri. He came over to listen to what I was saying. And then after I mentioned that Yeshua, he said Yeshua is the Christ, he parenthetically put his fingers in his ears and I cannot listen to this teaching, and walked away. What's changed? Nothing. Kaduri said that Christ is the Messiah. He met him. He said that Christ is coming back soon, and he said, not before Eli Sharon dies. Now, that's interesting because the Kabbalistic Jews got together and put a curse on Ariel Sharon because he gave the West Bank back to the Palestinians. They did it publicly. I mean, not the curse and stuff, but they said they were going to do it, the Kabbalistic priests, which Kaduri was a part of, which he backed out of, I guess, at the last. Couldn't realize if you're a born-again Christian or you accept Christ and you understand how to behave, that's for sure. I mean, you don't know how far to go with preaching and stuff, but you know what's right and wrong. There's a lot more. First place, as Kaduri was concerned, as far as this Kaduri thing is concerned. Also, Christ says, "I'm the Alpha and the Omega," which means I'm the beginning and the end, and that's the Greek translation. What he really said is, "I'm the Aleph and the Tav." Aleph is a sign of an ox head, the ancient symbols in Hebrew, and the Tav is a symbol of a cross, which I don't think Jews are even allowed to write a plus sign, as far as I know. But that's not the issue. So the Kabbalists. Ariel Sharon, within 3 months of the curse, had a stroke. He was in that coma for 8 years and died 5 years ago. He said the teacher, Christ was not coming back until after he died. Along the lines of that statement. Now, there's a lot of things they have to have in Israel for Christ to come. One of them is the third temple has to be built. Now, they've got everything. A Christian, praise the Lord, found the ark. He was digging outside of Jerusalem. Well, actually, he was walking outside of Jerusalem by a dump site, and he was with a Muslim, I believe. And he said his left arm just rose up in the air, and he said, there's Jeremiah's grotto. Jeremiah was the prophet who was there telling the Israelites to give up to Nebuchadnezzar because he was going to wipe out the place if they didn't. They didn't listen to Jeremiah, so he hid all the stuff. Apparently, nobody knew that. Jews never went looking for it. Had to be a Christian. A Christian also found the parting of the Red Sea, which isn't even the Red Sea, it's in the Arabian Sea, which makes sense because it's right next to Egypt. What, they do fly over that one and then part the Red Sea? No. They parted the Arabian Sea, and you can see exactly where it happened. The guy found a bunch of wagon wheels when he brought him into the museum. The guy says, oh, that's 18th century Egypt. He goes, how'd you know that? He goes, well, I was studying about whatever. But and they found a big stele or whatever, a thing that Solomon dedicated the parting of the Red Sea right there. They found it in the sand, picked it up there, whatever. This one's better, believe me. That's okay, but this one's much better. This guy, gentleman, I forget, Smith, I don't know what his name is. Look, he's on the internet all over the place anyway, but it was glorious when I heard it. He was digging through the pile, and he came to a part where they had crucified men. And he doesn't say that it was Jesus or anything. He just said he found spots where men were crucified. I think in 4s and 3s or whatever it was exactly. Read the Bible. And he was going beneath that, below, and he found I guess a grotto, you could call it. It was buried under all this garbage and stuff, thousands of years old, apparently. And he saw in the dim, dark down there, dusty, dirty, low ceiling, crawling, what looked like the Ark of the Covenant sticking out over a cement box, I think, something like. And he saw the showbread table, and he saw the mercy seat. Above the mercy seat was a rent in the ceiling, which was a rent in the rocks, that led all the way up to where the crucifixions were happening. And there was black stuff dribbled down there, hallelujah, dribbling down into the mercy seat. They were crucifying people over where Jeremiah hid everything from the temple. Of course, God knew nothing's hidden from God. And Christ bled down because he took this story. I mean, I believe it. How else would it happen? He took a sample of the ketchup dried up stuff, and he said that they went and checked it at the hospital, and it only had 23 chromosomes. Or to the effect, I guess, when I heard it, I'm just like, in my head, it made it seem that he had no father or something paternally. But nobody said anything that way. It just like clicked in my head, whatever. And also, if you touch the ark, you're dying. But this guy was a Christian who accepted Jesus into his heart. He said, if I can touch it. Well, he figured, my heart is good with Christ and I can touch it. And he did, and he touched it. He said he looked in and there was the Ten Commandments. In the Bible, the guy who, he was going along and the donkey stumbled and he wasn't supposed to look in, curiosity. Yeah, I was looking up curiosity in there. But anyway, he wasn't supposed to look in. And he looked in and it killed him. God told him not to look in. That wasn't curiosity. That was disobedience. He looked in there and he said, and then after he sees this stuff, of course, he's not going to move it or whatever. He went up and told the priests in the temple. Right after that, they were sacrificing bulls outside of town. It was with the bulls with a crutch and whatever. Anyway, they're sacrificing like the heathens that they are, sacrificing bulls outside because they wouldn't let them do it in the temple, so they had to do it. The only thing left to do is build a temple. Now the temple, everybody says they can't build it on the Temple Mount. Islam will kill them. And if we're real quick about Islam, is they don't like dogs. They think dogs are evil. Dogs are man's best friend. And whatever. I mean, they don't talk about dogs much in the Bible, but they're not evil. Not the ones I've had. Anyway, let's go. I also looked up miracles. And, Christ has a zillion miracles, making blind, beneficial to humankind. I wanted to see what kind of miracles that Muhammad had done. Number one, Muhammad said he saw the angel Gabriel. And he also stated that every time he had these visions, it felt like his soul was being torn out. I don't doubt it, because that's what the devil will do to you. What religion says specifically Jesus Christ is not the Son of God? He's a good guy and he's a prophet, but he's lying about that. Prophets don't lie. They can't lie. Devils can lie. They're the father of lies. And here's the two miracles. One of them is he split the moon and put it back together. I don't know what that accomplishes, and I don't know who saw it or what the proof is, whatever. The other one was that he made it to Mecca before the caravans. We can do that now. I can out-jog a caravan, pretty much. Absolutely. And he did too. But how's that beneficial to mankind? That's two miracles the man came up with. The devil fly him over on his bat wings. Who cares? Islam is evil. Period. It's evil. Any religion that commands you to kill somebody who doesn't believe in it is evil. Period. He didn't see any angel Gabriel. Angel Gabriel is the one who went and told Mary and her cousin Elizabeth that they were going to have children, Jesus and John the Baptist. That's the angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel didn't go talk to Mohammed. This thing's so out of tune, it's not even funny. A guy gave a speech in the UN. I was watching. He was a Christian, I think, maybe some kind of minister or whatever, but he had died in Australia. They only give you 4 shots in Australia. America, they give you 3. Australia, they give you 4 heart massages or electrical shocks, whatever. He was dead. Gone. Half an hour, I think. The blood was already pooling in his extremities, stuff like that. And they had him toe tagged into the ambulance on the way to the morgue, I guess, and he popped back up to life. Scared the heck out of the ambulance attendant. Let me tell you something about dead people. When a friend of mine worked in the morgue in a hospital over here in Monmouth County, and he said, for one thing, that dead infants, they put in a shopping bag and get on the elevator with everybody else to go up and down, because that's the only elevator from the morgue anyway. But when you get new people into the morgue, they don't understand the bodies make noise. You know, they expel gas. They just make noise. And everybody who goes there for the first time, they see these dead bodies making noise, they run for their lives. I mean, scared to death, like God's after me. Coming back from the dead, everything I watch is coming true anyway. Bodies make noise. So this guy, you know, he's been around. They all been. These guys who see dead bodies all the time, that kind of stuff, they have a different kind of fundamental, whatever. But he said he never seen anything like it. The guy comes back to life. But the real miracle behind it all is that he was completely healed. And that when they went back to the hospital, they checked his DNA. And God had removed from every cell in his body the information for heart disease out of every cell in his body, out of the DNA. Now, Ravi, what's his name, was talking to somebody in the audience one night, and he was witnessing, giving them all kinds of evidences about Christ. And finally he said, well, if I could prove it, or if you knew that Christianity was true, would you believe it, or would you accept it? And he said, no. So some people you just can't. And here's another good one. They were doing experiments on rats. Water rats. And these rats are good swimmers. I've seen them in Virginia. They can dive underwater and swim like a frog, man. The length of a pool. Anyway, because we were shooting them off the lines going to the tugboat. And so these rats, they wanted to see how long they'd last. And they put them in a tank. They jostled the water around and spray water in their face. And they'd all last about 17 minutes. I don't know how many they did, but they did enough to know that that's how long rats last when you're trying to drown them. Anyway, they decided to take the rats out of this tank at 16 and a half minutes, right before they died. By the way, they did an autopsy on them afterwards, and they found all the blood collected in their thorax, abdomen, whatever, which means that they weren't swimming anymore. They just gave up and died, drowned, finished. Why torture me? And so they rescued them 16 and a half minutes, dried them off, fed them for 2 weeks, and put them back in the tank. They lasted 37 hours as opposed to 17 minutes for the simple reason is there was hope. They swam till they died. When they cut them open, all the blood was in their extremities, which means they swam till they died because they were looking for salvation. I heard that a long time ago anyway. And it wasn't done by Christians or whatever. It was just done by scientists, and the results are open for everybody, and that's how I interpret it. They saw hope, and they went after it. I actually have a lot more to say on this subject, but I have to do stuff right this minute, so I'm going to come back and finish it later.